pit stop.
Okay, go forward. You got it.
Good.
You're good.
Well, we've left Indiana, Elkhart, Indiana, and we're making our way to Menomonee, Michigan. We are currently in Wisconsin, which I think we just wanted to come here so we could say Wisconsin. We made it through Chicago. We went through pretty much downtown Chicago, and it was not a bad drive. But
No,
I'll let you talk about that because you're the one who actually drove.
Yeah, it wasn't, surprisingly, it wasn't bad at all. But we are about 150 miles into independent suspension and disc brakes. And the first thing I'll talk about is the disc brakes. They are phenomenal. You've got stopping power, good, consistent stopping power. Let's talk about the independent suspension.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's bumps that you go over, you kind of brace yourself expecting for the big bump, and it's kind of like ba-dum-ba-dum-boom.
Yeah.
It just kind of bumps a little and just slides right out.
And the probably the biggest thing I've noticed is that with the old suspension, you would hit a bump and there would be the residual riding the wave of the bump.
Reverb, like a
yeah,
bump
and
reverb.
so here, I mean, obviously you still feel the bumps. Nothing's ever going to fully take the bumps away. But the one thing I noticed is if you go over some washboard or something that moves you around, it tames down almost instantly. Like you get one bump and that's all you get, and then it's smooth as silk. And you feel more in control. The rig feels more planted on the road, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll look back and I'm looking at Howie right now, and he's barely moving.
Yeah, he's not moving nearly as much.
Compared to what he used to move. And I feel, I'm not even driving, and I feel so much more solid in this, and barely feel that he's back there.
Yeah, you feel more connected to the road.
Yeah, and you feel more connected to Howie, I mean, as one unit, because it doesn't feel like two things going down the road.
Fighting against each other.
I think before it felt like Stella and Howie were fighting, and we don't feel that. So very, very, very good investment, and I'm happy that we immediately saw the difference. It to me, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
Let's deal with the valley. The hills kept the same.
One of the things I love about RVing is stopping at rest areas and having lunch.
It's a covered rest area too.
I had made us Italian salads for lunch, and we are enjoying them now. It's just an amazingly delicious salad, and you can find the recipe at gfexplorers.com if you're interested. Homemade dressing, homemade everything, really phenomenal. And yeah, we're on our way to
Menomonee,
Michigan.
the Upper Peninsula.
Yes, and so it is a beautiful day, it is a beautiful rest area, and it's a beautiful life.
So this morning I went to go get some stuff out of the truck, and I noticed this puddle down here on the ground, and you can probably see that it's foaming too. And so that's one indication that it was probably battery acid, but also because it was right under where our batteries are at. So I've disconnected the power, and anytime you're working around batteries, gloves and eye protection, because of that reason right there, that's sulfuric acid mixed with water. So we're gonna get in here. Power's off, the batteries are cut off, and we're unplugged from the pedestal. We've got all our terminals disconnected. now I'm gonna carefully lift. Oh yeah, it's dripping. So
Do you see any cracks?
oh, right there. See that? This is our brake line for our new hydraulic disc brakes, and the installer screwed in right here in the battery box. Right there is the top of that sheet metal screw. In the battery box, you can see it's all wet here. There is where that sheet metal screw went right into the battery. Okay, so since this is a sulfuric acid solution, we want to neutralize this with, oh, look at that.
Oh, listen to that sizzle. We're gonna have to go get more baking soda.
So this is, that is the exact reason right there that you do not want to get this on your, and it's in the bottom of the coach too. So.
That one's not sizzling as much, so. Here you've got.
I'm going to pour the rest of this into a squirt bottle so I can spray the underside.
I think we need to go buy more baking soda.
So we've sprayed the whole area down with a baking soda solution, which is what you want to do to neutralize the acid that's in here. We've washed out the battery box. And then I took my trusty Simple Green, which I love for cleaning everything, and then I cleaned everything down again with Simple Green. Okay, so one of the first things we have to do to start to correct this problem is cut this screw off right here so it doesn't poke back into the new battery. So you can see right there the screw that we cut out, and then I took the grinder on my Dremel tool and rounded it off so it's not as sharp. Now I'm going to take some electrical tape, if I can find the end. Isn't that always the case? You can never find the end of the tape. I think they do that by design.
I think they just want to keep you sharp.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think that's going to stick.
Well, once we put the battery box back on there, the battery box will screw
Well, yeah,
that down
that's
to the base, so it's not going to go anywhere. But that feels pretty good. And we've reassembled everything. And then we went down and picked up a new battery. While I was in here, I went ahead and checked the water level on the back battery. Our water level was good, but if you need to add water to your batteries, make sure you use distilled water, and you should be checking the level of your batteries every couple months. I would say at least every quarter, maybe more if you run on battery power a lot. We don't. We're primarily on full hookup sites, but check your water in your batteries for sure.
Okay. I'm going to do some B-roll here. Recording again.
There we go.
Gone. That, not the big one. Oh, obviously not the big one.
Oops, wait. one thing I want to do, since I've got some extra bolts, is see this right here? See how loose that is?
Oh, that does seem pretty loose.
Let's do that. Then that. Then that. And boom. Now I got no loose connections. I'm surprised they left that like that, because when that moves like that, that creates sparks.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like that would be very good. But, you know, sometimes things get overlooked.
Disconnect is right here, and you just plug this back here and put it back in the on position. Why did that light go on and then off? Oh, there we go. Oh, because it's motion sensor.
Okay, so looks like we have battery.
So we got screwed. Well, our battery got screwed.
Literally, not metaphorically. There was actually a screw screwed into our battery.
Yeah, and it was quite shocking to wake up to that, and a little bit dangerous because the battery acid was eating the asphalt pavement that we were on. I mean, you could physically see it bubbling up. And so our first goal was to clean up the mess. And so we did that. We neutralized the acid. We cleaned up the mess. As you can see, we put in a new battery. Everything was fine. Our second step was to call MORryde. And everybody at MORryde was great through the installation process, and they were great about talking to us immediately about this situation. They understand, they felt horrible, and reimbursed us immediately for not only the battery, but really what took longer than reinstalling a new battery was the cleanup process, because we were dealing with sulfuric acid. And we had nearly 4 hours.
Yeah, I mean, we had to be very, very careful and make sure that we got it cleaned up everywhere to get the battery. Yeah, it was a bit of, I won't call it an ordeal, it was a situation, and they were great about it, and they understood that, and I mean, we couldn't ask for a better outcome from MORryde.
And MORryde reimbursed us a shop rate for the 4 hours of cleanup. We, besides shooting it for the YouTube channel, we also documented it and sent everything to MORryde, so they knew exactly the steps that we took to, 1, neutralize the acid, 2, tear down the complete area, hose everything, wash everything down, dry everything off, and then reassemble everything and put in the new battery.
I mean, mistakes happen. It wasn't intentional. It was one of those freak occurrences. We are just very, very happy that as the majority of our drive from Elkhart to Menomonee, we don't think much of it leaked. It was after everything settled that we got parked in the campground and it leaked overnight. It could have been so much worse.
Yeah, and after a discussion with MORryde, because Friday after we picked up our rig, we stayed the night in the MORryde parking lot to head out early Saturday morning for our drive through Chicago. And I had asked the question, well, how come we didn't notice it leaking right away? And MORryde asked the question. And we all kind of came to the conclusion together that the battery actually had been screwed to the bottom of the rig, to the floor of the rig, and actually created a seal so there was no acid leaking. And then subsequently in the drive down the road up to our destination, it had shaken itself loose enough for the acid to start pouring through the hole that had been drilled in the battery. And they completely understood that, and we all came to kind of the same conclusion together of why we didn't notice it right away when the screw went into the battery.
It's like a puncture wound. You always see it in TV and movies, like, don't pull the knife out.
Yeah.
So the screw was so tight in there, it was holding all the battery acid, and then as we moved down the road, poof, somebody pulled the knife out.
Yep.
You know, it's just one more experience that we have that is making us seasoned full-time RVers. I have to look at it that way. I mean, that's pretty much how I look at life. It's like everything is an opportunity to either, solve a problem or learn something. And we did both. We solved a problem and we learned something. And I know far more about sulfuric acid than I did before. And
Then we want to know.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. So that leads us to where we were. this beautiful city campground in Menomonee, which I love to say Menomonee, I don't know why, Michigan, not Wisconsin. It is right over the river in Michigan, but much of the time that we spent there, we were shopping and stuff in Wisconsin because there were more options. We only were there a little over a week, and we had a lot of work to catch up on.
Right.
There wasn't a ton to do in the area, so we kind of hung by the campground, did our work, relaxed, and so there wasn't a ton to see there. But if you're ever driving to the UP on the Wisconsin side, consider Menomonee. Like I said, it's a city campground. I think it's $40 a night. Beautiful. One of my favorite campgrounds we've stayed in.
Great stopover campground.
Wonderful. Yeah, I don't think I would spend 2 or 3 weeks there, but like I said, we spent about a week. An overnight would be great.
Yep.
And wonderful trees. Just know that there are trees, so if you have Stalink, you may have some issues with that. But that would be the only downside I saw. And it's right next to a grocery store, a fabulous grocery store,
Yes.
Jack's. Jack's is great.
And if you've been watching our videos, you probably already saw our Dishy mishap that we had. If you haven't seen that, we'll link to it right up over my shoulder. But Menomonee is the campground where the Great Dishy run over.
The Great Dishy incident.
The Great Dishy incident took place. And I don't think we could have asked for a better outcome for that whole thing either.
Yeah.
The guy who ran over it felt really, really bad, offered to pay for it instantly, and then almost had a heart attack when he learned how much,
Yeah, it's like, that's only a
how much the
$600
equipment
piece of
cost. However,
equipment.
Starlink does have a dish replacement program for $250 to replace. They actually replaced everything. They sent us a new dish, 75-foot cable, and a new modem.
And a new router. Yeah.
All for $250. Starlink got it to us in about a week.
Oh, no, it was less than a week. It came more quickly than
Was
I
it
thought. Yeah.
3-4 days ish.
Yeah, it was crazy. Crazy fast.
And the gentleman who ran him over paid for him right away. So again, a learning experience that turned out happily ever after. So now let's take you on a quick driving tour of the Menomonee campground. It's not a very large campground, but it is very nice and on the Menomonee River.
And note, when you drive into the campground, don't be scared. You will find out when you see this video what that means.
Yep.
And thank you so much for watching. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. And until next time,
Happy exploring.